In this video, we're going to start the worksheet adding positive and negative numbers. It's actually listed as adding rational numbers on the KutaSoftware website. But when you open up that link, it's adding positive and negative numbers. So I'll leave the link in the description below. So our instructions on this worksheet are to find each sum. Looking at number 1, we have a -7 plus a positive 9. So think of this as starting at -7 on a number line and moving to the right 9 units. If we start at -7 and move to the right, we're eventually going to get at a positive 2 because we'll have -7, -6, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0. So we're at 0 right now, and we went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a positive 7. So we have 2 more to get to 9. So we're at 0, 1, 2. So that's our positive 9. And the point we landed at is 2 from -7. So let's go ahead and move on to number 2. At number 2, we have a negative number added to another negative number. So instead of moving to the right, when we add that other negative number, we're going to move to the left. So if we're at -8 on a number line, we're going to move -1, and that's going to land us at -9. So -8 plus -1 gives us -9. So it's helpful for these problems, especially in the beginning, to use a number line until you get more familiar with the concept of adding negatives to negatives and negatives to positives. So here in number 3, just as in number 1, we're going to start with a negative and we're going to add a positive. So starting at -1, we're going to move to the right 5 on the number line. So -1 plus 5 is eventually going to give us a positive 4. And I'll draw this out real quickly again. Here's 0, here's -1. We're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where we land is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. This is 4 on the number line. Number 4 says -6 plus 12. -6 moving over 12 is going to give us a positive 6. Number 5, we have -8 and we're adding a -5. So we're going to start at -8 on the number line and we're going to move to the left 5 more units. So it will be a -13. 6 is going to be 11 plus -2. So we're starting at a positive value and we're going to move to the left. So we're actually decreasing on the number line. So starting at 11, moving 2 to the left will be 10, 9. So 11 plus -2 will give us 9. Another way you can think of number 6, think when you're adding a negative, you're really subtracting that positive. So you could rewrite this as 11 minus 2. And we know that 11 minus 2 is 9. For 7, we can do the same thing. We can rewrite this as 49 minus 15. Because we know we're going 15 to the left, so we're subtracting that 15. 49 minus 15 is going to give us a positive 34. Now number 8, we're starting with the negative and going to the right. So starting at -47 and going to the right 30 steps, that's going to end us at a negative number, because the absolute value of 47, so the distance from 0 on a number line is 47 units, and the distance from 0 on a number line to 30 is 30 units. We're still going to remain negative because the absolute value of negative 47 is greater than that 30. So we're 47 units to the left of 0, but we're moving 30 units closer back to 0, but we're not quite at 0 yet, so we're still negative. And you can think of that negative 47 moving to the right 30, we're still going to have a negative 17. So we're still going to be 17 units to the left of 0. Here we have 49 minus 27, because when we add a negative, we're really subtracting that positive, and that's going to give us a positive 22. Here we have negative 29 plus 9. So we have a negative number, but we're moving to the right on the number line. So that's going to end us at a negative 20. So we're 29 units to the left of 0. We're moving 9 units closer to 0, so 9 units to the right, but we're still at a negative, and that's going to be negative 20. For number 11, we have 43 plus negative 1. That's the same as writing 43 minus 1, which is going to give us positive 42. Now number 12, we have 3 different numbers. We have 10 plus negative 2 plus a 1. The order in which we do this doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and do 10 plus negative 2 first. 10 plus negative 2 is the same as 10 minus 2. So that's going to be 8, and we're going to be left with plus 1 to give us a positive 9. For number 13, let's do negative 2 plus 4 first, just to mix it up. Negative 2, so we're starting at the left, we're adding 4, so we're going to go past that 0 by 2 units. So we're at a positive 2 now, and we have 11 still to add, so 2 plus 11 is 13. Number 14 is 12 plus 7. That's going to bring us to a positive 19, and we have plus negative 4, which is the same as saying 19 minus 4, and that's going to leave us with a positive 15. 15, so negative 7 plus 3, we're moving to the right, but we're still in the negatives. So we're going to have a negative 4 plus 9, and that's going to give us a positive 5. For 16, we have negative 1 plus 11, so that's going to be a positive 10. And we're going to have to add 5 to give us a positive 15. Moving on to the second page. For 17, we have 2 plus 10, so let's go ahead and do that to get 12. And let's go ahead and add negative 10 to a positive 10. Think about this. Right now on the number line, we're at 10 to the left for this quantity, but we're moving 10 to the right, so that's going to put us at 0. So 12 plus 0 is 12 for number 17. Number 18, we have 10 plus a negative 11. That's going to leave us at negative 1. That's like saying 10 minus 11, which puts us past 0 at a negative 1. And then we have plus 5 and plus a negative 5. Let's go ahead and do this 5 plus negative 5 next. So we're going to have negative 1 plus 5 plus a negative 5 is the same thing as saying 5 minus 5. 5 minus 5 is going to give us 0. So negative 1 plus 0 is negative 1. 19 says 2 plus 6 plus negative 7 plus 10. 2 plus 6 is going to bring us to 8. 8 plus negative 7 is the same as saying 8 minus 7. So we're going to be left with a positive 1 plus 10, and that's going to give us a positive 11. And finally, on to number 20, which will be the last problem we'll complete in this video. Negative 5 plus a negative 8. That is going to give us a negative 13. You can also think of this as 5 plus 8, but they're both negative. So 5 plus 8 is 13, but both of them being negative will still remain negative. So negative 13, and then we're going to add a negative 2 and add a 1. Let's go ahead and do negative 13 plus negative 2. So again, both these quantities are negative, so we know that when we add them, we're only going further into the negative numbers, so further to the left on that number line. And since they're both negative, let's just go ahead and add the 2 and the 13 together to get 15, but remember that 15 is negative. So you're starting at negative 13 and moving 2 to the left to get to negative 15. And then we're left with plus 1, so negative 15 plus 1, so moving from a negative 15 to the right 1 unit, we're going to land on negative 14. So I'm going to stop the video here, and if you're confused on adding negative numbers, please see one of my tutorial videos. I explain how to add negative numbers more in depth. In the next video, we'll do numbers 21 through 28, and that deals with adding negative decimal numbers. And then from there, the third video will be 29 through 34, which deals with adding negative fractions. So remember to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you get updates when I post the next video. Let's continue on with the adding rational numbers worksheet within Algebra 1 KutaSoftware, and I'll leave the link below. Here we have negative 6.8 plus a negative 1.9. We know our final answer is going to be negative. We're starting at 6.8 to the left of 0 and continuing on to the left another 1.9. So let's do 6.8 plus 1.9. 8 plus 9 is 17, so you're going to write 7, carry the 1. 1 plus 6 plus 1 gives us 8. And remember we said that this number was negative, so negative 6.8 plus negative 1.9 gives us a negative 8.7. Now for 22, we have a positive number, but then we're adding a negative number. This is the same as saying 2.489 minus 4.3. But it's a little tricky to subtract a number that's greater than the starting value. So let's switch the signs. Let's make this a positive 4.3 and this a negative 2.489. So now we have 4.3 minus 2.489. Remembering to keep those decimals lined up, we have to add in our placeholders, and we're going to have to borrow from this tenths place. So borrowing from the tenths place, we're going to leave 2 there, and we're going to move 10 to here. But we need to borrow from this place, so this becomes a 9, and this then becomes 10. Now we can subtract 10 minus 9 to give us 1, 9 minus 8 gives us 1, 2 minus 4 we can't do, so again we're going to borrow. So this becomes a 3, and this now we're going to add 10 to that 2 to get 12. So 12 minus 4 is 8, placing the decimal so we don't lose track of it. 3 minus 2 is 1. So when we did that subtraction, we got 1.811. But we have to remember, in the beginning, we switched the signs, so that means we're going to have to switch the sign for the answer as well. And this is going to be negative. So our final answer is going to be a negative 1.811. Since we switched the signs in the beginning when we started, we have to switch that sign at the very end. Let's move on to the next. Here we can just do 5.7 minus 4.7. So we have 5.7 minus 4.7, which is what we would have if we rewrote that. 7 minus 7 is 0. 5 minus 4 is 1. So our answer for this is a positive 1. For 24, we have a negative 5 plus a negative 7.1. We're starting negative and going further into the negative numbers, so we know our answer is going to be negative. So what we did earlier, we can do again. Switch the signs. Make the 5 positive and the 7, and let's see what our answer is. Remember, we have to switch the sign of the answer. And we already know that it's going to be negative, so let's just see how that works. We have 7.1 plus 5, placeholder, 1 plus 0 is 1, keeping the decimals in line, 7 plus 5 is 12. And remember, since we switched the sign in the beginning, we have to do so for the answer. So our final answer is negative 12.1. Now 25 gets a little tricky because now we're adding 3 different terms, but it's still the same concept. So for this we have 2 negative numbers, so let's add those together first. So negative 3.9 plus a negative 7.8 is going to be a negative number because we're going further into the negatives. 3.9 plus 7.8, carrying the 1 plus 3 plus 7 is going to be an 11.7. So this is negative 11.7. And we still have to add a positive 7.1. So we have a negative 11.7 plus a 7.1. Our negative number has a greater absolute value, so we know the end term is going to be negative, but it's kind of tricky to subtract a larger value from a positive value, so let's switch the signs. Make this a positive, make this a negative, and remember that answer we have to also switch. So now we can rewrite this as 11.7 minus 7.1. That's going to give us a positive 4.6, but since we switched the signs, we have to switch the sign in the answer as well. So our final answer is going to be negative 4.6. Now 26 is a little bit easier. We have a negative 4.5 plus a 4.9 plus a 3.4. If we combine these first 2 terms first, it'll be easier on the last. We have a negative 4.5 and a positive 4.9. The absolute value of 4.9 is greater than the absolute value of negative 4.5. So we know that when we add these, our answer ultimately is going to be positive. We could also just do 4.9 minus 4.5, and that's going to leave us with 0.4. And then all we have left to do is to add that positive 3.4. So 0.4 plus 3.4 is going to give us 3.8. For 27, we have negative 2.1 plus negative 1 plus negative 7.6. All of these are negative numbers, so we know our final answer is also going to be negative. Since those negatives are added together, we're going further to the left on the number line. So negative 2.1 plus a negative 1 is going to bring us to a negative 3.1. And then all we have to do is add that negative 7.6. Adding that together, negative 3.1 plus a negative 7.6. If you're still having trouble adding negatives, go ahead and switch the signs here. But remember, if you switch the signs, you have to switch the sign of the answer as well. So negative 3.1 plus negative 7.6, I know is going to come out to be a negative 10.7. If you needed to switch the signs, I'll do that really quickly. You're going to have 7.6 plus 3.1, which is 10.7, but remember, switch the sign back. If you're ever confused, you can always double check with a calculator. You can think about this logically and know that if you're starting at negatives and adding more negatives, you're going to the left on the number line, and as you go to the left, that negative number, the distance or the absolute value, is going to be greater than the absolute values of negative 2.1 or -1, or -7.6. And indeed, since -7.6 has the greatest absolute value, the absolute value of -10.7 is greater than -7.6. So logically, this answer makes sense. And if you're confused on anything that I just said, if you go into my Algebra 1, I do tutorials on how to add negative numbers. This is just practice problems, so we're going through this rather quickly. So if you need extra help, go ahead and check out those tutorials. Here we're going to end on 28. So I'm going to start by combining the positive numbers. So 4.5 plus a 0.85 is going to leave me with a 5.35. So what I did mentally was I added the decimal places together first to get 1.35, and then I added that back to the whole numbers, which were 0 and 4, so really just 4. And in our expression, we're left with adding a -2.4. This is the same as saying 5.35 minus 2.4. I'll do that over here to the right. 5.35 minus 2.4, put in that placeholder 0. 5 minus 0 is 5. 3 minus 4 would give us a negative, so let's borrow from the ones place. So that 5 becomes a 4, and this 3, since we borrowed from the place to the left, this becomes 3 plus 10, which is 13. So then we have 13 minus 4, which gives us 9, and 4 minus 2 gives us 2.95. So our final answer is 2.95. I'm going to stop the video here. Again, if you need extra help or you need me to go over a problem again, go ahead and comment below. Remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel. In this video, we're going to continue on with that adding rational numbers worksheet or adding positive and negative numbers within the Algebra 1 free worksheets on KutaSoftware. We're going to finish up that worksheet and do numbers 29 through 34. These all deal with adding fractions, both positive and negative. We know that when we add fractions, we have to find a common denominator first. So this is 5/3 plus -7/5. Let's go ahead and find this common denominator. The easiest way to find the common denominator is just by multiplying the denominators together. So 3 times 5 is going to be 15. But we also have to convert the numerators as well. To get from 3 to 15, we multiplied by 5. So we're going to do 5 times 5 to get 25. To go from 5 to 15, we multiply by 3. So we have to do the same to the numerator. 7 times 3 gives us 21. Now we can go ahead and just add the numerators together all over that 15. We have 25/15 plus a -21/15, so that's going to be 25 minus 21 all over 15, and that leaves us with 4/15. So 29 is equal to 4/15. Now let's look at number 30. Again, finding the common denominator. This one is 15 as well, because 5 times 3 is 15. So we're going to write this all over 15. For the first, in order to go from 5 to 15, we multiply by 3, so we have to do that to the numerator as well. 8 times 3 is going to be 24. And we're adding this quantity, -1/3, but we put that over 15. So 3 times 5 gets you to 15, so 1 times 5 is 5. So this is 24 minus 5, combining the numerators, all over 15. 24 minus 5 is 19. So this is going to be 19 over 15. For 31, again, the common denominator is 15. So to get to 15, you multiply 3 by 5, so we have to multiply the numerator by 5. So this is going to be negative 5/15. And we're adding another negative that is also over 15. You multiply by 3 to go from 5 to 15, so we have to multiply the numerator by 3. So that's going to be a negative 9/15. So we have negative 5 plus a negative 9 all over 15. A negative plus a negative is still going to be a negative, and we're going further to the left on that numerator. A negative 5 plus a negative 9 is going to give us a negative 14 over 15. Just explaining real quick that if this negative is combined with a fraction, the negative can either go on the denominator or you can move it to the numerator. If you haven't noticed, I'm just taking this negative and moving it up into the numerator. Because remember, the fraction bar represents also division. So a negative 5 divided by 15 is the same thing as a 5 divided by a negative 15. Let's go on to 32. 32, we're going to have a different common denominator. So if you multiply the 2 times the 3, that common denominator is going to be 6. So in order to get to 6, we multiply the 2 by 3. So we have to multiply the numerator by 3, so we get 3/6. Now we're going to add a negative. To get from 3 to 6, we multiply by 2. So we're multiplying the 5 by 2. So that's going to be a negative 10/6. This is going to be 3 plus a negative 10 all over 6. 3 plus a negative 10 is the same as saying 3 minus 10, which we know is going to put us at a negative 7. So this answer is going to be negative 7/6. 2 more to go. We have 2 plus negative 1/4. We still need to find a common denominator. This whole number 2 is the same thing as the fraction 2 over 1, because 2 divided by 1 is equal to 2. So the common denominator is going to be 4. 1 times 4 is 4. So if we multiplied 1 times 4 to get to 4, we also need to multiply the numerator by 4. So now that's going to give us 8/4. We're adding a negative. To get to 4, we multiply by 1. So we're multiplying the numerator by 1, which is just itself. So we have 8/4 plus a negative 1/4, which is 8 plus a negative 1 over 4. 8 plus a negative 1 is the same thing as 8 minus 1. So this is going to leave us with 7/4. And finally, number 34. Now so far we've been multiplying the denominators to find the common denominator. However, we can see that both these are even, so the number 2 actually goes into the number 4 if you multiply that by 2. So the common denominator for both of these is really going to be 4. So we're going to leave the first term as negative 1/4. And we're going to add a negative. 2 times 2 is 4. See, the 4's are the same. So we have to multiply 3 by 2. 3 times 2 is going to give us 6. So we have negative 1 plus negative 6 all over 4. Negative 1 plus a negative 6, that's going to be a negative 7/4. So the answer to the last problem on this worksheet is negative 7/4. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below, or you can also go within my tutorial algebra section on YouTube to find out more details on adding negative numbers. And if you're still having trouble with decimals or fractions, I just recommend practice. The more you use them, the more familiar you get, and the easier it will be to add negatives. So feel free to like this video if you found it helpful at all, and go ahead and subscribe to my channel.